Tonight, I'm going through 10 stories pulled from Reddit threads that I've been collecting for this volume. 10 accounts from real people who posted their experiences in the hope that someone would read them and understand what they went through. Some of these are short and sharp. Some of them go deeper and take longer to unpack. Two of them, the Craigslist story I have saved for later, and the McDonald's account that gives this video its title, are the ones that have been living in the back of my head since I first read them. First, all of these were posted publicly on Reddit by the original authors, names as posted or adjusted for privacy, locations generalized where the original poster requested it. If you are new here, subscribe before we start. I put out new content every single week, and tonight is a good one to start with. And if you have your own story from Reddit that you think belongs in a future volume, drop it in the comments when we are done. Here we go. 10 stories, starting now. Story 1, the parking garage. And this was posted by a user who worked evening shifts at a downtown office building in Minneapolis. She was 24 at the time. She wrote that after late shifts, she always parked on level 3 of the attached parking garage because the elevator opened directly onto her office floor in the morning, and it saved time. One Tuesday in November, she got to her car at around 9:45 at night. The garage was mostly empty at that hour, the usual pattern on weeknights. She unlocked her car and was about to get in when she noticed that the car parked directly next to her driver's side, a dark SUV that had not been there when she arrived that morning, had its engine running. Sitting there, idling with no visible occupant inside. She got in her car quickly and locked the doors. She looked in her rearview mirror, and that is when she saw it. A man sitting in the back seat of the SUV. Not the front, the back. Sitting directly behind the driver's seat, which was empty with the engine running. He was looking at her through the window. She drove out of the garage without stopping and called her husband from the road. She filed a report with the building security desk the next morning. Security pulled the garage camera footage from that level. The SUV had been parked there for 3 hours before she came down. The man had moved from the front seat to the back seat approximately 8 minutes before she had walked through the garage door. He had seen her coming on a different camera. He had moved to the back seat of a running car and waited. She parks in a different garage, now one with an attendant at the exit. She said she has never fully stopped thinking about those 8 minutes and what they were for. Story 2, the gym locker room. Posted by a man in his early 30s who went to a 24-hour gym in suburban Atlanta. He wrote that he typically went late between 10 and midnight because he worked long hours, and the gym was empty at that time, which he preferred. One Friday night, he was the only person in the locker room after his workout. He had showered and was getting dressed at his locker when he heard the exterior door to the locker room open and close. Normal. People came and went. He did not look up. After about 2 minutes of silence, he became aware that whoever had come in had not moved to a locker, had not turned on. A shower had not made any sound consistent with a person who had come into a locker room for any of the standard reasons. He looked up and saw a man standing near the entrance, not at a locker, not at the sink, just standing in the open space of the locker room looking at him. The original poster wrote that he said, "Hey!" And the man said nothing. He picked up his bag and his keys and walked toward the exit. The man did not move out of his direct path. He had to angle past him to get through the door. He went to the front desk and told the overnight staff member what had happened. The staff member looked at the locker room camera monitor. The man was still standing in the same position in the locker room. Not at a locker, not moving, just standing. The staff member called police. The man was gone by the time they arrived. The camera footage showed he had been inside the locker room for 11 minutes before the original poster left and had not moved from that initial position for the entire duration. The gym could not identify him. He had not badged in with a member ID. Nobody knew how he had gotten through the exterior doors. Story 3, the babysitter. This one was posted by a woman who had been babysitting for a family in her neighborhood in Sacramento. when she was 17. She wrote that she had been sitting for this family for almost a year and was completely comfortable at the house. One Saturday evening after the kids were in bed, she was watching television in the living room when she heard a knock at the front door. Not the doorbell, a knock. She looked at the security camera app the family had given her access to and saw a man on the porch she did not recognize. She did not answer. The family had told her never to open the door to anyone she did not know. The man knocked again. Then he tried the door handle. She watched on the app as he tried the handle, found it locked, and then walked to the side of the house and out of the front camera's view. She called the father immediately. He told her to call 911 right now and that he was on his way. She called and 2 officers arrived within 6 minutes. They walked the perimeter of the house and found the man attempting to open the rear sliding door from the outside. He had a tool in his hand. He was arrested that night. The investigation revealed he had been watching the house for several weeks and had determined through observation that the parents left on Saturday evenings and a young female babysitter was regularly left alone with the children. The original poster wrote that she did not babysit again after that. She said she was grateful every single time she thought about the fact that she had not opened the front door. Story 4, The Rest Stop, posted by a long-haul truck driver who regularly drove the I-40 corridor through New Mexico and Arizona. He wrote that he had stopped at a rest area outside of Gallup at around 2 in the morning to sleep for a few hours before continuing. He had been parked and nearly asleep for about 40 minutes when he heard someone trying his passenger side door handle. He sat up. Through the passenger window, he could see a man standing at the door, not knocking, just working the handle slowly and steadily, like he was testing whether it would give. The truck driver laid on the horn, and the man did not run. He stepped back from the door and looked up at the truck driver through the window for a long moment with no particular expression. Then he walked to the next truck in the lot and tried that door handle. The truck driver called New Mexico State Police and stayed on the line. A trooper arrived 17 minutes later. He found the man at the far end of the lot, attempting to open a 4th vehicle. The man was detained. He had no ID on him, no phone, no vehicle of his own that anyone could identify in the lot. The truck driver wrote that the detail that stayed with him was not that the man had tried his door. It was the unhurriedness of it. The way he had tried each vehicle in sequence with the same patient, methodical motion, like he had done this before, and was simply working through the available options until he found one that opened. Story 5, The Neighbor's Wi-Fi Name. This one is short, but I want to include it because the way it unfolded over time is what makes it disturbing. Posted by a woman in her late 20s, living in an apartment building in Portland, Oregon. She wrote that she had been living in her unit for about 8 months when she noticed a new network appear in her available Wi-Fi list. The network name was her full name. Not a building name, not a generic label. Her first and last name as the Wi-Fi network identifier. She asked her building manager about it. The manager said no network associated with the building used resident names and that she had no explanation for it. The network was visible for 3 weeks and then disappeared. During those 3 weeks, the original poster started paying attention to things she had not previously noticed. She realized she had been consistently hearing movement in the unit directly above hers, at times that corresponded exactly with her own movements through her apartment. When she walked to the kitchen, she heard footsteps above moving in the same direction. When she went to bed, she heard similar movement above settle shortly after. She told her building manager, who conducted a check on the unit above. It had been vacant for 6 weeks. There was no authorized tenant. Building security found signs of unauthorized habitation in the vacant unit. Someone had been living there without the building's knowledge. The Wi-Fi network in her name had been created from that unit. The investigation did not result in an identified suspect. She moved out of the building 2 weeks later. Story 6. The Craigslist tutoring job. This is the Craigslist story I mentioned at the top, and I want to give it the space it deserves. Posted by a woman named in the thread as Kara, 23 years old at the time, working on her master's degree in education in Columbus, Ohio. She was looking for tutoring work to supplement her stipend and found a Craigslist listing seeking a math tutor for a high school student, $25 an hour, flexible scheduling meet at the student's home in a residential neighborhood on the east side. She responded and heard back from a man who said he was the student's father. His name was listed as Robert. He was professional in his communication, described his daughter's specific struggles with algebra and geometry, asked about Kara's background and experience, and they arranged a first session for the following Tuesday at 4 in the afternoon. Kara arrived at the address on Tuesday. A standard ranch house in a quiet neighborhood, no visible issues. Robert answered. The door was friendly, invited her in. The house looked like a family home. Photos on the walls, normal furniture, a kitchen with dishes on the counter. He led her to the dining room table where he said his daughter would join them in a moment. She sat down. He offered her a glass of water. She said yes, and he went to the kitchen. While he was in the kitchen, Kara heard no sounds from the rest of the house. No television, no music, no movement that suggested a teenager was anywhere in the building. The house was quiet in a specific way. The kind of quiet that is not a family home where someone is about to come downstairs. The kind of quiet that is just a house with two people in it. Robert came back with the water and sat down across from her. He asked her several questions that did not have anything to do with tutoring. How long had she been in Columbus? Did she have family nearby? Did she live alone or with roommates? Where exactly was her apartment? She answered vaguely and asked when his daughter would be joining them. He said she was getting ready and would be down soon. He then stood and said he needed to get something from the other room and left the dining room. Kara looked at the glass of water on the table in front of her. She had not touched it. She picked up her bag and her keys and walked to the front door and left. She did not say anything. She did not wait. She sat in her car 2 blocks away and called her roommate and described the entire sequence in real time. Her roommate said she was coming to get her right now. She did not have to because Kara was capable of driving, but she said the offer mattered more than she could express at the time. She filed a report with the Columbus police that evening. She gave them Robert's phone number, the Craigslist listing URL, the home address, and a full account of what had occurred. She described the questions about her living situation and her proximity to family. A detective called her 4 days later. She told Kara that the address had come up in connection with a prior report filed by another young woman who had responded to a similar Craigslist listing at the same address approximately 2 months earlier. That woman had also left before anything had occurred. That report had been open since she filed it. 2 listings, 2 young women, the same address, the same man, the same quiet house, with no daughters who ever came downstairs. Kara said the glass of water was the detail she came back to most often afterward. She had not touched it. She didn't know why she had not touched it in the moment. Some part of her brain had made a decision she had not consciously reached yet. She was grateful for that part of her brain every day. Verify the family before you tutor in a private home. A quick video call to confirm the student exists. A name you can look up. Something. It takes 5 minutes, and it is the difference between that story and a different story. Story 7, The Hiking Trail, posted by a man in his late 20s who was an avid hiker in the Pacific Northwest. He wrote that he preferred solo day hikes and had done dozens of them over several years without incident. On a Saturday in September, he was hiking a moderately trafficked trail in the Cascades when he encountered another hiker going the opposite direction. Normal. He nodded, and the man nodded back, and they passed each other. He thought nothing of it. About 40 minutes later, he encountered the same man again on the same trail, now going in the same direction as him. He thought the man must have turned around. He picked up his pace slightly. 20 minutes after that, at a section of the trail that was less traveled and had a viewpoint off the main path, he stopped to check his map. He looked back down the trail and saw the man standing about 100 yards back, not moving, looking at him. When the original poster started moving again, the man started moving. When he stopped, the man stopped. He had passed 2 other hikers going the other direction earlier in the day. He remembered approximately where they had been on the trail when he passed them. He turned around and walked back in that direction at a fast pace until he found them, a couple in their 40s, and he told them directly what had been happening. They did not question him. They turned around with him, and the 3 of them walked out together. The man who had been following him did not appear again once he was with the couple. He reported the incident to the ranger station at the trailhead. The ranger took it seriously and radioed other rangers in the area to look out for the description he gave. He never found out if the man was identified. He still hikes, but he said he has never gone solo since that day. He said he does not miss it as much as he thought he would. Story 8. The McDonald's. This is the McDonald's story. I want to be thorough with this one. Posted by a woman named in the thread as Diane, 36 years old, living in a suburb of Kansas City, Missouri. She wrote that she made a habit of stopping at a McDonald's near her office most mornings on her way in, usually between 7:15 and 7:30. Same location, same order, same drive-through lane. She wrote that she first noticed the man about 3 weeks into her daily routine at this location. He was always parked in the same spot in the McDonald's parking lot when she pulled into the drive-through lane. A gray sedan, same spot, always there when she arrived and still there when she pulled out. She registered him as a regular, someone who ate there every morning, nothing more than that. The second thing she noticed maybe a week after she first registered his presence was that his car was positioned so that the driver's seat faced the drive-through lane directly. Not the building, not the street. The lane. She told herself he was probably just always parked there and that the angle was coincidence. The third thing she noticed was that he was looking at her car specifically when she came through the lane. Not at his phone, not at the building. At her car. At her in her car each morning, as she waited for her order. She mentioned it to her coworker Janet over lunch one day, framing it as mildly creepy, but probably nothing. Janet told her to change up her timing the next morning and see if he was still there. She went at 6:50 the next day instead of 7:20. The gray sedan was not there when she arrived. She ordered and waited, and as she was pulling out of the lane, the gray sedan turned into the parking lot. About 30 minutes earlier than she had been arriving, he had not yet arrived. She went back to her regular time the following day. He was there. She pulled into the parking lot one morning instead of going through the drive-through and walked inside to order. She sat at a table near the window with a clear view of the parking lot and watched. He arrived at 7:18, which was when she typically came through the drive-through lane. He parked in his spot. He looked at the drive-through lane and waited. She watched him wait for her for 11 minutes. Before she stood up, took a photo of his car and played on her phone, and walked out to her own car in the parking lot. When she got into her car, he saw her. She could see his face in profile from where she was parked. He looked at her for a long moment and then looked back at the drive-through lane. She filed a report with the local police that afternoon and included the photo of the plate. An officer ran the plate and called her back. 2 hours later, the registration came back to a man who lived in her neighborhood, not her street. 4 streets over. He knew where she lived. He had been watching her drive-through timing, which meant he had been in that parking lot longer than she had been noticing him, learning her schedule before she started noticing him at all. And he lived 4 streets away. She changed her morning route entirely. Different road, different coffee stop, different timing. She also contacted her building's security desk and gave them his description and plate number and asked them to note it. She changed the locks on her apartment that week, even though she could not confirm he knew her exact address. She did not feel like waiting to find out. The police issued a formal notification to the man. He had done nothing that constituted a chargeable offense at that point, but the notification was on record and so was her report. She moved to a different neighborhood 8 months later for an unrelated reason. She said the move felt like exhaling for the first time in a long time. She said the thing she wanted people to understand was that she had almost talked herself out of taking it seriously every single time. The parking spot was just a coincidence. The angle was just how he parked. He was probably just a regular who happened to go there at the same time she did. She had that conversation with herself almost every morning for weeks before she said it out loud to Janet, and Janet told her to change her timing. Janet is the reason she is okay. She said that with full sincerity. A friend who said, "Take the action and find out rather than talk yourself out of it and keep wondering." Take the action and find out. It is almost always nothing, and when it is something you want to know before it gets further. Story 9, the Airbnb. This one was posted by a couple in their early 30s who booked an Airbnb for a long weekend in Asheville, North Carolina. They had good reviews on their guest profile and booked a well-reviewed private room in a larger home where the host lived on site, which is common and typically fine for Airbnb. The host was pleasant at check-in, showed them their room and the shared areas, and said to let them know if they needed anything. Normal. The man in the couple who posted the story wrote that on the second night he woke up at around 3 in the morning for no reason he could identify. He lay still for a moment and then became aware of a sound. A very faint sound from the direction of the closet on the far wall of the room. Not a house settling sound, not the HVAC, a sound with a quality of intentionality that he could not more specifically describe. He got up and opened the closet. Clothing hung on the rod, luggage on the floor, and at the back of the closet behind their suitcases, a small pinhole in the wall at about eye level for a person lying on a bed. He put his finger over it and felt a faint draft of air from the other side. He woke his partner and they packed their bags and left the house within 15 minutes. They drove to a hotel downtown and checked in at 3:40 in the morning. They reported the Airbnb to the platform and to Asheville police that same morning. An officer went to the property and found that the pinhole connected to a small space on the other side of the wall in the host's adjacent room, and that there was a modified viewing device attached to the wall on the host's side. The host was arrested. It was not the first complaint that had been filed against that property. A prior guest had mentioned feeling watched in a review that had been flagged by the platform but not acted on with sufficient speed. Airbnb removed the listing. The legal proceedings are a matter of public record, and the original poster said they had been followed through. They said they now check every room of every Airbnb they book, every closet, every vent, every wall they cannot account for. They said it takes about 20 minutes, and they do not apologize for doing it. Neither should you. Story 10, the dog walk. The last one tonight is short, and I want it to be the one you go to sleep thinking about. Posted by a woman in her late 20s who walked dogs part-time in a residential neighborhood in Denver, Colorado. She wrote that she had a regular route she used with most of her clients, a 2-mile loop through a quiet area with good sidewalks and low traffic. One afternoon in October, she was midway through a walk with a golden retriever named Biscuit when she noticed a man walking behind her at a distance of about half a block. She did not think about him initially. People walked in that neighborhood all the time. She turned left at the corner. He turned left. She turned right at the next corner. He turned right. She crossed the street to avoid a stretch of sidewalk that was broken. He crossed the street. She stopped at a corner and let Biscuit sniff a fire hydrant for longer than necessary and watched in her peripheral vision. The man stopped. He was not on his phone. He was not looking at anything. He was waiting. She called the owner of the dog from the corner. She said she was going to bring Biscuit back to the house early because she was not feeling well. She turned around and walked toward the house, which was now behind her, which meant walking in the direction of the man. As she approached him, he stepped off the sidewalk onto the grass and looked away. She walked past him without making eye contact and continued to the dog owner's house, which was 2 blocks back. She knocked. The owner answered. Diane told her directly that a man had been following her for several blocks, and she did not want to walk back to her car alone. The dog owner went with her to her car. The man was not visible on the street by that point. She drove home. She reported it to Denver police. She gave the description in the general area and the time. The officer filed the report. She still walks dogs. She does not use the same route 2 days in a row anymore. She varies her timing. She has the owner's number ready on her screen before she starts each walk. And she will never again hesitate to turn around and walk back to a door and knock and say, "I need someone to walk with me to my car." Not once has an owner said anything other than, of course. 10 stories. 10 accounts from real people who posted what happened to them on Reddit because they wanted someone to know and they wanted someone to hear it. A parking garage and a locker room and a babysitter who did not open the door. A trucker who laid on his horn. A woman in Portland whose neighbor knew her full name. A tutoring listing at a house where no daughter ever came downstairs. A solo hiker who found the couple at the right moment. A woman who changed her drive-through time and found out what she needed to know. A couple who found a pinhole in the back of a closet at 3 in the morning. And a dog walker who turned around and knocked on a door instead of keeping going. None of these people did anything wrong. They went to work and to the gym and to the drive-thru and on hikes, and they moved through the world the way all of us do every day. The difference between their stories and the version of these stories that ends differently is usually one decision. The decision to trust the thing your body is already telling you before your brain finishes arguing with it. Do not let the arguing go on too long. Drop a comment telling me which of these 10 got under your skin the most. I read every single one. And if you have your own Reddit story that belongs in a future volume, put it in the comments or message me directly. Subscribe if you are not already, and hit the bell so you are here when the next volume drops. Stay aware, stay safe out there, and check the back of the closet before you go to sleep.